How's it going, everybody? I'm not sure if this is streaming, and this is how I always start my videos because YouTube doesn't tell me. It just says starting, it doesn't actually say live. So what I'm going to do from here is tell you all to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos every single day. I'm going to be ramping up and doing a lot more live streams, so stay tuned for that. This is why I'm doing it now. You can see behind me a bunch of boxes, so it's not entirely done, but I've got some decorations going up. I've got the studio space getting set up. And if you want to support my work, you can go to timcast.com/donate and give whatever you'd like. Bitcoin is appreciated, and you can make subscriptions monthly. I'm here because okay, look. I wanted to start doing a live stream because I actually... Oh, God damn it, the air conditioning just turned on. I'm watching what's going on in Berkeley. How many of you are watching what's happening in Berkeley right now on Twitter? Okay? We're watching random people just get beaten in the streets. They're walking up to people and they're beating them. And here's something cool that I can do as I'm starting to set all this stuff up. Actually, you know, the first thing I have to do is I have to tweet this out. And I think the URL is just youtube.com/timcast/live. Let me just make sure that's true. And it is. So everyone who's tuning in, you can hit the thumbs up button because I'm about to show you a video. And if you like the channel, greatly appreciated. And we are talking about Antifa, street violence, and the coming police state. And we'll tweet that out. Bam. Okay. So, let me move back over to my dashboard. If you want to have your comment appear above everyone else's so I can answer it, the super chat is available, and you can see that down. It's like a $sign. You click that, and if you give at least $5, your comment will appear in a special bar, and I can see it. I do try to talk to people in the comments, but sometimes your comments move too quickly. So the super chat not only helps support my work, but it actually has your comment appear, up high. So Tyler Massey just sent a couple bucks. Here's a couple shekels for some crown molding. Thank you. I don't know I don't know anything about home improvement, or I think some people get offended by calling money shekels, but I think that's just money in Israel. We got an EU summit November 17th. Go to Gothenburg, perhaps. So let me show you guys something. I got some videos here up on Twitter that I can just show you now with this fancy. So this is Joey Gibson, and they're just screaming at him and chasing him away. Spraying him with pepper spray. This isn't the most, I guess, egregious video that I could have found, but it's something that I was just looking at, and what we're seeing is thousands of people in Berkeley. The police don't have control of the situation. A lot of people are complaining that the cops aren't doing enough to deal with this, and I think it's just simpler than that. The police can't do anything about it. There's probably more black bloc Antifa there than there are police. So the police can only do so much. This is why I have been saying over and over again that as we see street violence, we are going to see police militarization. People like routine. If you watch in my videos the past few days, I've been explaining this. People like routine. They're scared of the unknown. If you go out one day and you see a massive protest blocking the streets, people are smashing windows, they're beating people, that freaks people out, okay? That scares people. They don't like that. People would rather have terrifying fascism that guaranteed food on their table than going out and witnessing just crazy street violence. Got a super chat here from Jared O'Brien. I'm thinking of having kids and I'm horrified of bringing my children into this kind of world. Do you genuinely think it will get better? I don't think it's going to get better, but people have been saying stuff like this forever. Should I bring kids into a world like this? Let's talk about police militarization. You're going to say, many people are sitting here. I see all these comments on my Facebook where they're like, Tim, you're wrong. The fascists already control the government. Things aren't going to get worse. They're as bad as they can get. And I'm like, man, you've never been to a country like, Eritrea. You've never witnessed what actually happens during revolution, like in Egypt. And then let me just show you guys what we're dealing with, because, bam, Trump is expected to lift the ban on military gear to local police forces. All right, so this is USA Today reporting this. There it is. It's exactly what I've been saying. We're seeing this escalation. And now we're going to see, so a lot of old military gear was going to police forces. Obama put a ban on that, and Trump is going to lift that ban. We're going to start seeing regular old liberals, regular old conservatives saying this street violence is getting out of hand. We have to do something about it. I'm already seeing my progressive and liberal friends, Bernie Sanders supporters, just freaked out. When you watch a video of Antifa just beating random people, let me see. I got another video right here. Let's see if I can pull this up. Why is this not pulling up? I'll hit some super chats while this is loading. Laney Peterson, thanks for the super chat. Duke Snuggles, it's all fun and games until the National Guard gets a call. Antifa is going to learn this the hard way. But look, if the National Guard comes out and confronts Antifa and someone gets injured, that's going to exacerbate the problem as well. This is a no-win. There's no winning, okay? If someone from Antifa gets attacked by the National Guard, they're going to use that for propaganda to recruit people saying, we're just fighting racism, right? You see in the media all this talk about how they're fighting racism. Then you watch videos of them beating black people and beating Latinos. It's not about racism, it's about their political ideology and using whatever they can to get a foothold. So if the National Guard even saves, like let's say someone from Antifa throws a brick and, a National Guard gets hit by it, they're not going to talk about that. Let's say the rock flies and hits a little kid in the face. They're not going to talk about it. What they're going to talk about is only when they get attacked and use it as justification for the government cracking down. And I can give you a specific example. During Occupy Wall Street, when I would do live streams, all right, and the police would arrest people and they would beat people, and many times the protesters would initiate or aggravate against the police. Videos would come out only showing the police doing violent things. And the people at Occupy Wall Street, they didn't even try to hide it. They said it was propaganda. They flat out admitted, we make propaganda. They said that's what they did. When I would do live streams, I started getting a ton of people saying, yes, but now, because it's live, it can't be faked. Well, two things happen. First, they would only share the video as soon as police attacked. So if I'm streaming and you see a bunch of protesters trying to knock a barricade down, they would not tweet out the link. As soon as the police move in, they tweet the link out saying police are attacking innocent protesters. It's propaganda, and it doesn't matter if it's live or not. They can manipulate it. There's some speculation. A lot of people are accusing Alex Jones of hiring some comedic wrestler to splash him with coffee. Now, we don't know whether or not that's true, whether or not he actually hired this person, but we know that Alex Jones got splashed with coffee. Obviously, people on the left think he's lying. People on the right trust him. The reality is you can see how easy it would be to do something like this. So we got super chat here from Super Saber. How long do you think till guns are involved? Guns are already involved, right? We've got the Oath Keepers and we've got Redneck Revolt. Neither of these people have engaged each other, and in my experience, talking to somebody, I don't think I've ever spoken with someone from Redneck Revolt. I've talked to some lefties who were armed. There was a guy, I believe he was from a group called Black Guns Matter, and it was in Houston. I believe it was in Houston, and both they hung out with each other. They talked to each other. They're more connected by their desire for security and their discipline and controlling a firearm than they were about the political violence. But in Charlottesville, we saw one of these white nationalist guys fired a gun at some of the protesters, and then behind him you see one of the protesters shooting a flamethrower with like a hairspray bottle or something. So let's move on to another super chat. We got Shangri-La. Considering the mayor of Berkeley is associated with and supports BAM, I think there's a good possibility he is telling the police to hold back. Well, I could be wrong, but I don't think there's proof that he supports them. I think what happened was he liked their page on Facebook. And what people don't realize is that liking a page is different from supporting a group. If you like a page, yes, sometimes it does imply that you are likely going to be interested in what they're doing, but it could just be because you want to follow them. And if you want to see what they're posting, you click the like button. Duke Snuggles never said the National Guard getting called was a good thing. I'm just throwing a prediction. What you are saying is correct. Right. The more violence we see, the more escalation we're going to see. And I think I've got a video here, but I don't think this is from today, so I'm going to close that out. And let's see what we got. I've actually got I got a video that I want to show you. Let me pull it up real quick. Twitter is going really slow, and now it's sending me to a random place. All right, well, while this is loading, see what else you got in the comment section. Berkeley mayor is colluding, throw him out of office. It's hard to speculate and to know for sure. But I want to show you guys this video that I'm pulling up right now, and let me pause it, and now I will play it. Check this out. Obviously, the caption here is a bit hyperbolic. Antifa in Berkeley trying to murder a Trump supporter. I don't know if we can say they're trying to murder him, but look at that. Huge group of people surrounding and beating someone. All right. And I've got another video right here. Check this out. Just stomping on some dude. So you can see here, apparent alt-righter, and this is important. This is what I was tweeting about. This guy at the end, check this out. I'll pause it. This guy right here in red, he jumps on top of this dude and is trying to stop them. In another video, I don't have it, you can see him putting his arms up. He's putting his arms up and he's yelling for people to stop, and they don't. They don't stop. They keep kicking and stomping this guy. There's several videos where the people in the protest, the counter protest of the left, they're trying to stop the violence. They can't control it. This is the stuff that I've been talking about, okay? The reason I say apparent is that we don't know who this guy is. Does anyone ever deserve to be stomped like that in the middle of the street? There's some instances, perhaps, right, where somebody. I think it's rare because I'm of the belief that even if someone is a horrifying monster, you subdue them and capture them to prevent further harm. But stomping and beating someone is more like retribution. So I'm not sure I agree with that. But we don't know who this guy is or why he's being beaten. Some people said he was pepper spraying people. Others say that he was just one of the rally goers and they started attacking him. So let's hop over to the super chat here. We got a bunch that came in. Norway, fascists behave exactly the same way in pre-Nazi Weimar Republic as Antifa behaves today. The Weimar government caved, and what was the result? Let's talk about that, because I've been reading a little bit about that, and it's really interesting. Someone says he was friends with Falarka on Facebook. So I think Shangri-La is talking about the mayor of Berkeley, and while you might be, again, even being friends with, yes, I would lean more towards the probability that it is true, but I like operating off of beyond a reasonable doubt proof. And this is circumstantial, so I would take that into consideration, but again. Daniel Williams, I get the joke. I'm not going to repeat it. So we got Arzekdu. I can't pronounce that name. I am currently at my house 1.5 miles from where thugs in black are assaulting innocents and cops fire tear gas. I fear for my safety when I go outside. How is this acceptable in a first world nation? This is exactly what I'm talking about. What I will say is, Rezek, I don't know if you're actually down there. If you are, stay safe. And if you're not, this is still an important idea that we need to recognize, that there are going to be old folks. There are going to be regular people who just want to go to school, they want to go to work. These are people who might be fighting the good fight, who might be making real change and pushing for real progress, because many people might not realize this, but the left has been winning for a long time, right? Civil rights are expanding, gay rights are expanding, abortion rights expanding. And now these attacks we're seeing might actually work to get the average person to put in power more far-right individuals. People are acting like Trump is a fascist, and whether or not you like Trump or his policies or his plans, whether or not you believe that at least some of his policies are, in a sense, fascistic, Trump is an American politician and personality. He's not a despot. He just says things people don't like for the most part. So let's move down. We got Randy Ireland. All that needs to happen is a few high-profile Antifa members, like Bike Locker, that was Eric Clanton, to be publicly arrested, public court trial, and sentenced to prison. This will end after a few. It won't. When these people get arrested, they claim the system is trying to stop them from fighting Nazis. And they use this as propaganda to prove that the Nazis are in control of the government. I don't know if you saw the video I did today. Right? Someone sent me this video, this guy, Lift the Veil. He's just a dude walking around with his phone filming, and they start saying, "What are you doing? Why are you filming?" And he says, "I'm just a journalist." They start saying things like, "Why are you wearing a polo shirt?" And he's like, "I don't know, I just wore this." And then immediately they start chanting, "Nazi, go home." And what does everyone around him do? Without knowing who this guy is, without caring who this guy is. They all start screaming, Nazi, go home with this guy. Someone else comes up, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Just assuming, hey, if everyone's yelling Nazi, this guy must be a Nazi. And then another Antifa black bloc guy steals his phone, they wrap him up in a banner and pull him back. And he's standing there saying like, I'm not a Nazi, I'm just a journalist, I'm just filming, I'm on YouTube. It doesn't matter. Vice can send a reporter to embed for 3 days with an actual neo-Nazi, an actual white supremacist, and the left, the Antifa. They will post this video and cheer for these corporate journalists. But when a single individual walking around with a cell phone is caught, he's not a part of their system, he doesn't agree with them, he's a Nazi. Andrew Grindle, thanks for the super chat. As a National Guardsman, we've discussed within our unit what would happen if we got called into a protest riot. My state isn't likely to have this happen, but I'm still waiting for the dreaded call. My brother was in the Army, and he told me that the people, that he served with, they would never fire on civilians. If people were walking down the street and the government said, hey, kill those people, they'd be like, hell no. But I asked him, yeah, but what if you have a bunch of black-clad individuals with guns and Molotov cocktails, and they're smashing things up, and they order you, and it's like, oh, well, when you've got unidentifiable individuals who are violent and might hurt people, yeah, you got to stop them. And this is the problem. The immediate reaction most people have to this kind of violence doesn't tend to be the correct one. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have one protester in the street holding up a sign that says, Donald Trump is a fascist. They're blocking traffic. So the police are called, and they call a local unit, hey man, get this guy out of the street. The police come and arrest this person. And what happens? Everyone starts filming, saying, oh my God, the police are arresting, we have a First Amendment right, what's he doing, they're arresting this person. Next day, there's 15 protesters blocking the street. So the immediate response isn't always guaranteed, the obvious response isn't always guaranteed to solve the problem. It might actually just make it worse. So while these Antifa, these leftists are saying we have to fight back and punch Nazis, thinking it's going to make the problem, make it go away, they're actually making the problem worse. And now Trump is expected to lift this military weapons ban, and we're going to see an expansion of police powers. And then in turn, thinking that's a good idea, the left is going to be like, oh my God, it's happening. The Nazis are arming. We got to fight back. And it's going to get really bad. All right, let's pop down to some of these super chats. Steve Britton. One day the right will start bringing weapons for self-defense, and then the real fun will start. This will get far worse before it gets better. Steve, I hate to break it to you, it's already happened. We saw that video from Charlottesville. Let me see if I can pull it up while I'm talking. Where a guy at the Unite the Right rally fired a gun, and it should be easy to find. Video shows man shooting at crowd during Charlottesville rally. All right, so while this is loading, I'm pulling this up. I will hit the next super chat. Get out of your ad. Something everyone needs to remember is that in cases of horrific atrocities, it's never a majority and almost always perpetrated by back and forth escalation. Calm heads need to win on both sides. We're not going to see it. Right? The calm people are the centrists. And here we go, another super chat. The video with the Vice guys weren't Nazis. The bald guy was an anarcho-capitalist. On his podcast, he frequently criticizes Nazis. Right, well, I understand that. He made several references to the Jews taking over and a bunch of Nazi talking points. So when you want to get into the nitty-gritty of, literal Nazism versus colloquial Nazism, yes, I understand that. But as far as I use the phrase Nazi, I'm speaking in the colloquial sense, not the Antifa sense. The colloquial sense of, people who support Hitler and support what the Nazis were doing, not necessarily agreeing with their idea of government. There are a lot of people who are neo-Nazis who aren't actually National Socialists. They are anarcho, capitalists or whatever, like this guy, attending these rallies, chanting the same thing, standing side by side with people with white nationalist or Nazi symbols. It's complicated, but let me hit some other super chats. We got a bunch coming in. The left should just keep having rallies, then bail, and let the left look stupid. They will learn their lesson at the voting booth. I think they mean the right should keep having rallies. Aside from immigration, I side with Dems on most issues. Are there any elected Dems that understand the authoritarian trajectory the left has been on? Bernie Sanders called out the violence. Bernie Sanders said that Ann Coulter deserves to speak. Noam Chomsky said the violence is a bad idea. The leaders of the far left, the more left-leaning people, I like Bernie Sanders, right? I'm not a huge fan of how far left he is economically, but it's been a long time since you've had a politician you felt was genuine. And I heard the same thing from a lot of people who now support Trump. A lot of Trump supporters I met at various rallies said that they liked Bernie more than anybody, especially because he opposed these trade deals. But again, I digress. Bernie Sanders opposes the violence. They don't care. All right, they don't. Ben Cooper, how will Antifa react if they are declared a domestic terrorism group, and will it cause them to increase? Yes, it will cause them to increase. Department of Homeland Security New Jersey already lists them under terrorism. Let me pull this up. Homeland Security, Terror, Antifa. I want to pull up the exact article here. All right, I think I got it here. Someone posted it to Reddit. And yep. All right, I'm going to show you two articles which I promised I would show you. First, here's what we got. Anarchist extremists, Antifa. Well, Antifa isn't necessarily, anarchists. They're, in my experience, most of them tend to be communist. But there are a lot of anarchists and there are a lot of socialists. And here's the fascinating thing. Anarchists don't believe in violence, right? Authoritarianism is the idea that there is an authority that has the right to do what they do, and that you can act in support of the authority. So I believe that many of the people who are communist or socialist are more authoritarian. Anarchists. I actually interviewed an Antifa anarchist in San Bernardino, and he talked and he said he was against the violence, but he opposes fascism. So, anarchist extremist is a misnomer, I suppose. But you can see right here, counterterrorism domestic. They've already been, this used to say domestic terrorism straight up, and I guess they changed it. But you can already see that they've been listed talking about how they get into these violent confrontations at right-wing rallies. And then they talk about, confrontations between anarchists and white supremacists. And at the same time, for the sake of context, the Department of Homeland Security New Jersey did issue a similar statement about white supremacists. But let's look at this. Video shows man shooting at crowd during Charlottesville rally with no police response. I don't think they needed this. I get what they're trying to say, but they're trying to politicize the issue. The important thing to consider is that there is actually a video. This guy firing a gun. I don't. Here we go. Yeah, I think we actually got the video here. That was a shot, right? We're coming to this point. So I was talking to my brother. Actually, let me hit these super chats real quick. Billy says, Antifa is dangerous, donating $17.76. What a great number for the super chat. Gigs, both sides use victimization and labels for propaganda and power. Recent sub to your channel, love your work, Tim. Thank you, really appreciate it. I'm doing, as I said, you can see the boxes and stuff behind me. I'm setting up my new apartment. I still got to get some of the light set up. I'm getting my affairs in order because this space that I'm setting up is going to be awesome, and I'm going to have friends come in. We're going to do more live streams. We're going to do more discussions, and I'm going to do a bit more traveling, so making sure that stays up. So I was talking to my brother, and I was explaining everything that's happening, all right? I've been telling a lot of my friends, I have been to many countries. I have watched revolutions in front of my eyes. I was in Egypt when they pulled Morsi from power, looking into this crowd, screaming, lasers everywhere, these green lasers on these Apache helicopters as they circled overhead. One of the guys I was working with got pushed and cornered in an alley while they started screaming at him in Arabic, and he had no idea what was going on. Someone pulled him out. All right, that could have gotten really bad. I've watched this stuff happen. All the stores in the area around Tahrir. No phones, right? People were closing their shops. They were removing their product because they were scared that it was going to get looted or stolen. Interestingly enough, McDonald's was still operating. But I'm watching all this stuff go down. And the only logical conclusion is escalation. I don't know who or what is going to stop it or where it will end, but I can guarantee that we're headed to a very dangerous place. And that's why I've been telling my friends, look, Alex Jones likes to scream, buy your gold, people, they're coming for your income tax or whatever. And he's been doing it for years, right? I remember when I was 18, someone sent me one of his videos. It was like the 9/11 Truth Loose Change era where that video was going viral. And I watched him, and I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting stuff he's talking about. Is this true? And then he tried telling people to buy gold and all that stuff. He's scaring people. And I'm like, there's nothing going on, right? Now we're looking at large groups of people overpowering police, beating random people, calling them Nazis. And I mean it, random people. Like in the video I just did, this guy, Lift the Veil, the YouTuber, live streaming, just some guy in a polo shirt gets his phone stolen. They wrapped him up in a banner and started, basically, it's in a form of attack. I don't want to say that they were beating him or anything, but it was an assault. Stole his phone from him just because he was wearing a polo. All right, this stuff is escalating. This stuff is happening. Some guy went to a baseball game, shot several politicians. A guy in a car, a white nationalist, rammed into a crowd of protesters. The protesters were showing up with baseball bats and crowbars already. Now we see Redneck Revolt on the left. They're armed. We see the Oath Keepers and 3%ers on the right who are armed. And again, I will preface with, I've talked to a lot of people who are armed, and they tend to be significantly more disciplined than your average protester. Let's pop down to some of these super chats. Nefarious NYC. You can reinforce the rule of law, but you can't legislate assembly. Even if Antifa is labeled a domestic terror group, its members will still be able to assemble without calling it Antifa. This is exactly what I've been trying to say. I made a video where I said calling Antifa a terrorism group probably isn't the smartest idea. And a bunch of people, a bunch of right-wingers who follow me were like, oh, all angry, saying, how dare you, Antifa are terrorists. And they missed the spirit of my argument. I'm not saying that what these people are doing is not terrorism. That's not for me to decide. I can flat out say that in many instances, a lot of what they do is terrorism. It's violence for the sake of pushing a political narrative. The point is, Antifa isn't an officially organized or funded group. It's a bunch of different cells that fly the banner. There's a bunch of different ideologies behind it. Mostly, in my experience, I find communism. There's socialism, there's anarchism. It's not all the same thing. And the outcome of saying that Antifa is a terrorist organization is really, really bad. And let me explain why. First, if you want to stop the actual terrorists, that's not going to do it, right? That's not going to stop them because they'll just call themselves something else. And I said this in the last live stream I did. I said this in the video I did. They'll just call themselves the no to fascism group, right? They can call themselves anything they want. They can call them fascism, anti. They can just say whatever they want because they're not officially organized or funded. It doesn't matter. But there is something really bad. We're seeing more and more people call any black-clad person Antifa. And I admit I'm guilty of that in many instances. I've been trying to make sure I preface it's either Antifa or a black bloc. We don't necessarily know. If they're not flying the banner, I'm trying to refrain from calling them that for one simple reason. If they finally say, the federal government, that Antifa is a terrorist organization, and everyone wearing a black hoodie at a protest is Antifa, that is giving the government broad powers to call you a terrorist. Not a good thing, right? I don't want to see Antifa going around beating people, and I also don't want to see a fascist government armed to the teeth telling people they can't protest or speak. Both of these are bad. The extremes are really bad. And it's not a two-way street. It's not left versus right. It's kind of like establishment versus anti-establishment, but it's really just a bunch of different factions that don't necessarily fit on the left, the right, the up or the down or whatever. Got another super chat here, Nefarious NYC. You can disrupt the group's funding, but it won't stop street violence. Plenty of the people at Berkeley right now aren't Antifa wearing black bloc. Exactly what I just said. And Nefarious, I know that you sent that super chat before I even talked about it, so I apologize. But yes, basically that's the exact idea that we want to bring up. Super chat from Unknown. Where is the Milton Friedman of our time? I haven't the faintest. Chance Wilson. Tryhard centrists are terrorists too. Yes. According to Antifa, let's see. Let me see if I can pull up this graphic. I'm so glad that I'm getting this stuff set up, that I can show you guys stuff instead of just sitting here talking. But there's a funny picture that's been going around that I'm thinking maybe I can find. No, okay, I can't find it. Never mind, I can't find it. But it's basically showing the rights viewpoint, the American, the individualist viewpoint versus Antifa. And centrists and moderates are considered Nazi sympathizers. And anybody who crosses that right line, that middle line to the right, is a literal Nazi. And anybody who's, here, wait, I got an idea. Let me see if I can find this graphic. This is a graphic that, here. Oh my God. Here we go. I got you guys. Pulling this up right here, and this is the gag, right? Love and hope, far right. This is what it feels like today, doesn't it? This is exactly what it is. Oh man, And right now, just over there, I got a TV playing with CNN on. Forgive me, yes. CNN's not bad when it comes to generic information. Their commentary I do not like. I think it's god-awful. But they're talking about Houston. They've got reporters on the ground. And there's actual problems in this country. Actual problems right now from a major natural disaster that hurt a lot of people. People that to a certain degree are close to me, that are terrified and worried about their loved ones who might be dying in an actual flood. And I'm hearing stories about people who are rushing to their own personal boats to go on, at their own expense, to risk their own lives on rescue missions to save these people. Terrifying photos of old folks' homes where the people are up to their waist in water, the elderly because they can't get evacuated, dogs that have been tied up to trees and left to die. This stuff is really terrifying. And it's really terrifying when you see what happens after the rule of law breaks down. Stop. What happened with Katrina? Like, man, we really don't want to live in that world. But these people on, the anti-fascists or whatever, this group, this brand of Antifa, whatever you want to call it, is certainly helping us push in that direction. So I got another super chat here. Bruce Vila, thank you for the, I think that's Norwegian money. Appreciate it. Josiah Magnuson, are there any other super chat clients? YouTube is making bank off of these. Yeah, here's the thing. YouTube takes a cut of the super chat, and that sucks. I don't know what other more effective and streamlined way there is to do super chat, because what happens is even if I launch a third-party app, say through PayPal or something, which some people have been doing, and I keep almost all of the super chat money, the average person still is, out of convenience, preferring to use super chat to engage in the platform. So it is what it is. But appreciate the super chat, Josiah. Let's see, we got some stuff in the comments here, and I got a super chat popping up. Can see decades of escalating tit-for-tat violence between far left and far right, with increased polarization in U.S. akin to the sectarian troubles in Ireland in the 70s and 80s. This won't end well. I was thinking something really similar, because if you watch my videos every day, last month, maybe a little bit more than last month, I was in Northern Ireland for the big festival they do. And when I went to the Peace Wall, on one side, you can see it's all about like nationalism and they believe in, the union and all that stuff. On the other side, it's very anti-capitalist. And I was like, this is like the same left-right ideology. One side had a group that believed they were a lost tribe of Israel in Ireland, and the other side was with Palestine. And one of the locals told me the thing is, whatever one side adopts, the other side will adopt the counterpoint just for the sake of being opposed to each other. And while they have legitimate grievances, there's tons of issues that don't make sense. Like a group of people in Ireland who believe they're a lost tribe of Israel supporting Israel while the other side supports Palestine because they say that they share, they're both occupied by a imperialist force. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, look, I understand the conflict to a certain degree. I'm not like an expert or anything. I don't live there, and the people there know more than I do. But I get that there's this Republic versus Union conflict in Northern Ireland, but they oppose each other on such weird things. Here, I got a graphic that I really like, actually. Is there any... No, I think there's a racial slur in there. I'm gonna avoid that out of fear of getting my channel taken down. So, yeah. There's a political compass, and it shows what the left, the right, the bottom right, and the bottom left means. And it's basically like, no matter what you do, you get killed in some way. Like, die in a food line, die in a gulag, die in a concentration camp, or starve to death because you can't work for you can't get a job with a major corporation. I just did a video, I don't know if you guys all saw it, where this guy, I was talking about this earlier, he's wearing a polo shirt, he walks around, his name is Lift the Veil 2. Actually, let me just pull up the clip from his channel. And Lift the Veil 2. And then you can actually, I can just show you. Easy enough. And if you guys want to hop in the super chat, we guess we got one from Gigs. I'd look into Streamlabs for donations. I will do that. Thank you for the suggestion. All right, so he's got a couple more videos up. Here we go. Fascist, Antifa. Let me see if I can pull this up and not make it so loud. Yeah. But I want to show you this guy's clip so you can see the kind of stuff I'm talking about. All right, this should be good enough. I'll just play it from here, and hopefully.
You know my channel? I'm not right wing. I hate the rebel media. I hate the other side as much as you guys.
Yes, he hates both sides.
As much as you guys. I'm just trying to stop filming. I'm a freaking journalist, guys. I'm a journalist.
This is my analytics
Support
dashboard.
me to come here and see what's going on. I'm just trying to see what's going on.
Let's jump forward a little bit. I don't want to skip too much.
You guys don't want any coverage? You're trying to stop the KKK, the Nazis, right? I'm just a journalist. Not for me, so... Oh, I forgot. No freedom of press.
See this guy right here? This guy right here, he said, what's your outlet? This guy, he doesn't know who is filming. He doesn't know who he's talking to, and watch what happens.
You watch it right now. I have one called Lift the Veil. They attacked that. Lift the Veil, T-O-O. I'm live right now.
All right.
They're talking about me.
Here he is. This guy that you just saw saying, what outlet are you with, who doesn't even know who Lift the Veil is now screaming, Nazi go home. These are random people who just jumped in and started screaming, Nazi go home.
Go home, man. Go home. Go home. The South. I'm just a journalist. I have a YouTube channel.
And you can see this guy right here. Who is this guy? Assuming that simply because everyone's attacking him, he must be somebody, right?
I just have a YouTube channel. It's called Lift the Veil 2. T-O-O. But I am the main channel, Lift the Veil.
And that's where the video ends. Because they stole his phone from him. Alright? So you can hear him saying, I just have a YouTube channel. Like, he's not doing anything. And they come and they attack him. Let me hit these super chats because when I'm in this dashboard, I can't see it. So we got Vicious Snake. Vicious Snake, thank you so much for the very generous super chat. Hey Tim, this should help with first month's rent on the new place. Thank you. We can't wait to see you out there covering the stupidity of both sides of this protest circus. It needs to stop. The country real doesn't need another civil war. Yeah, you know what I'm thinking of doing? What I think would be really important is to try and showcase something where we see how much in common we all have, right? Actually talking with people about issues they want to see solved, because for the most part, we all really do want the same thing. But the more the media focuses on our differences and the violence and the chaos, the more it's going to polarize people. So I'm hoping that maybe I can go out to some of these places and instead of just getting into an argument about how I'm not a Nazi and then getting chased out of some stupid place like normal, I can actually meet real people and talk about why this is happening. So it's really difficult to talk. I've talked about this before. It's really difficult to talk about, to interview people on the far left because it's very dogmatic. As you can see, these people just started screaming Nazi. I don't even know who this guy is, all right? Just, hey, who are you? You're a Nazi! And he's start screaming at him, making fun of him, trying to shut him down. These are the people who are going to say, I'm not going to do an interview with you because you're a Nazi. Or I'm not going to do an interview with you because then people will call me a Nazi. I've got some friends who are pretty rational. Like, they're progressives. They believe in social justice. They believe, they love Bernie Sanders. They're social democrats, what do you want to call it. But they're open to the First Amendment and discussion, and they want to have rational debate, and they just believe they're right. And they're terrified that if they say anything political, that if they say anything like, hey, let's stop the violence, they'll be called Nazi sympathizers. And it's, you know what, man? To my friends, if any of you are watching, grow a backbone. You've got to stand up and say, knock it off. Stop hitting people. You're making the problem worse. We also need to realize that they don't care. They want to hit people. They want the problem to get worse because they want revolution. And the only way to get it is to shake down the system as it stands today and then rebuild it later. And that's going to be a nightmare for everybody. Got another super chat here. Got a bunch of super chats. Let me hit these. When do you think the media are going to start talking about this Antifa escalation problem? They'd have to change their narrative at some point. I think we're starting to see it. I saw an op-ed from a conservative on thehill.com that talked about how the media they're going to lay their bed with these people. These are communists. These people are Orwellian. The way they just start chanting that everyone is a Nazi, it's a terrifying thing to encourage. And a lot of the people who are smart, who are aligned with these groups, with Antifa, with other factions, they know And they say they're anti-racist, but again, they're not. You see these videos of these guys beating black people and Latinos in the street. We've all seen it. Race isn't the issue. You can have a black Trump supporter, and they call him Uncle Tom and punch him in the face. It's not about racism. Let me hit some more of these super chats. We got a ton coming in. Steve Beardfist. Seems odd there's no discussion of earlier left radical movements in the West from the 60s and 70s, the SDS, Weather Underground, BLA, SLA, RAF, and so on. There has been at least some degree of discussion about Weather Underground that I've seen online. Yeah, like left-wing bombing attacks and stuff. I talked to my dad, and I gave him a call, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, you ready?" And he goes, "Ready for what?" And I was like, "Civil War. It's here, man." And he laughed. But, one thing we agreed on in this conversation was that, there's going to be like IRA-style attacks. It's going to be like this urban terror of... We already saw one guy in Houston try to blow up a statue. Could you imagine if he succeeded, right? Someone from Norway says, you were saying about the Weimar Republic. Yes, I forgot. Let's put a tack in that. I got a bunch of super chats. Weimar Republic, don't let me forget. Thoughts on Berkeley charging college Republicans $15K for security for Ben Shapiro visit? Inappropriate or needed for them to pay? Being restrictive, saying that you can't do something without enough money is a big problem, because the U.S., we try to avoid special class privileges. We try to. Obviously, we don't. But saying you can't have a speaker unless you can afford the security is problematic. And that's a lot of what... There's a strategy of what these people do. People on all sides will try and run you out of money so that you can't, It is what it is. You got to have security. I mean... Do you think the tech censorship will get worse? We've seen DNS providers start playing the game. Will ISPs be next? Will we need to turn things to like ham radio to talk freely? Oh, yeah. Welcome to the future, man. Tor, Bitcoin, these are things that I find fascinating. The Tails operating system. There are reasons that people are developing this technology. Because Google is going to... YouTube is already doing this weird lockdown thing, right? I don't know if you saw the video. There's a video about racial differences in intelligence based on race that they locked down. You can't like it. There's no view count. You can't, when you link to it, there's like a disclaimer. And as much as I understand why that is a very offensive idea and why it's very controversial, Google deciding what ideas should or should not be heard is a terrifying future. They kidnapped that dude. They surrounded him and didn't let him leave and took his phone. Absolutely. Yep. Pluto, fellas, if you must watch CNN, there are always streams available here on YouTube. Don't give them viewership. Rebel Riot, wow, thank you for the generous super chat. Don't forget, Weimar Republic, I'm going to get to that in a second. My history is not very good past this year, but I think you should know that in the U.S., in the U.S., has there been a problem with Nazis and white supremacist groups causing violence before Charlottesville, or has it just been verbal and symbols of racism? Yeah, as far as I know, I believe it's the Southern Poverty Law Center says there's only about 6,000 KKK members in the whole of the United States out of, 330 million people? It's not that big of a problem. These groups are really, really small, and they're fringe in the middle of nowhere. But the media, these activists, they've decided that if they just call someone a Nazi enough times, eventually they're Nazis. And now the Boston rally was a Nazi rally, the Berkeley rally was a Nazi rally, and how are you going to say that libertarian civic nationalists who believe in the Constitution are Nazis? It just doesn't make sense. Russell Schultz, we had a productive day today in Berkeley and yesterday in Frisco. We won the day. Antifa just doesn't know it yet. When Antifa showed up, Berkeley PD vacated the park. Let's talk about the Weimar Republic. Weimar Republic is basically like pre-Nazi Germany. I'm not a history buff. I've only read very little about this. But there was a group called Rot Front, and I believe that means Red Front. Let me see if I can pull up anything about this talking about today. Basically, what I read was that... Oh, there's a modern Rot Front band. What they would do is they would march to the streets, and they're essentially the Communist Party, paramilitary arm in Germany, and they would get into fights with police. So the brown shirts, the Nazis, the paramilitary arm of the Nazi Party, would go and hold rallies in areas they knew Rot Front would be, specifically to start violence, and then wag the finger and say, look how violent these people are, you need law and order. I don't know which side is which. Everyone says, Antifa are the brown shirts. People say, no, the Trump supporters are the brown shirts. Everyone's slinging mud. All that matters is that the escalation of violence is going to lead to the average person saying, we need law and order. And then Trump lifts this ban, right? Let me show you again for those that may just be coming in. Trump is expected to lift this ban in military gear to local police forces. And what's going to happen? Look at that photo, right? Can I pull that photo up? Yeah. What is that? That's Ferguson. Ferguson was intense. There's been a lot of criticism with Charlottesville because in Ferguson you see APCs, the Bearcats. You see tear gas. The police were armed with live ammo as well as riot control ammo. The National Guard was on scene. But we don't see this with these other events in Berkeley. And I can't answer. I can't tell you why. But, what I can say is expect to see more of that as this violence continues to escalate. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of people on the left and the right want this to happen. The average person on the left and the right obviously don't want this to happen. But the extremists know the only way to get change is you've got to shake the foundation, knock it down, and rebuild it how you want it. So the average conservative who wants smaller government, the average liberal who wants universal health care and increase in taxes on the rich and things like that, they all agree on a nice stable country where we can eat our food, go outside, have pizza, laugh with our friends. Because at the end of the day, we might debate politics and get really angry, but we're both going to end up at that beach, kicking a beach ball and laughing with our families. But the far left and the far right are very, very different. And obviously the far right, if you're looking at the economic scale, it doesn't make sense to call them this, but I'm talking about the colloquial far right. When we talk about like the idea of Nazis versus communists, yeah, they just want to beat each other to death. There's people showing up saying, like they're going to have an anti-Marxism rally. That was the Berkeley event. And they want this violence to happen on purpose. Here's an important thing that people need to realize. One of the reasons why I've been saying I think the far right is going to win is not just because people are going to call for law and order, but because listen to these white nationalists and listen to these far right people like Richard Spencer. They are not stupid people. Not by a long shot. Sargon of Akkad did a video where he talks a bit about this. I don't think he in the same context, but he shows videos from them where they're explaining how everything Antifa and Black Lives Matter do is propaganda for them. One of these guys, I believe he's an actual neo-Nazi, I'm not entirely sure, white nationalist to say the least, said, "I would not have my enemies do anything else. They are pushing people into our arms." Something like that. They like the fact that Antifa goes out and beats people. Because then these people come and say, what do we do about this? And there they are saying, see, told you so. Got a super chat here from Mitchell and friends. You got a Litecoin wallet that we can donate to? It's much faster to send and has cheaper fees than Bitcoin. I don't, but here's what I'll do. Immediately after this stream, I will set up a Litecoin wallet, and I will set up an Ethereum wallet, and I will set up a Bitcoin Cash wallet. Because I'm pretty active right now in crypto. The reason I'm looking at cryptocurrency is because gold is hard to move. And gold has, as things get bad, people say, look, buy gold. There's a part of me that just hopes that all of this is a political bubble, and the average person isn't paying attention. They're watching the McGregor fight. Did you guys watch the Mayweather-McGregor fight? Awesome. It was exciting. And the bar was packed. How many of those people knew or cared about what was going on with this stuff? None. So hopefully it stays that way, and this is a fringe group of nonsense that just goes away. But with the mass protests I've seen, I'm thinking it's time to take these precautions. So I bought a little bit of gold, right? It's not like you're spending any money. You're just putting your money somewhere that's a better store of value, and you can always pull it out and use it for other things if you need to. And Bitcoin is very similar. Bitcoin's very volatile and dangerous right now, but it's digital, so it can exist on a USB drive. And that means if things get really bad here and you don't get access to your gold, you'll at least have your thumb drive with your private keys, and you can trade in Bitcoin. So it's pretty interesting. We got some super chats here. Junior LA or JRLA. Tim, thank you for your attempt to remain neutral with your coverage. You're welcome to the white ethno-state as far as I'm concerned. Please make based Hapa babies with the QT girl. Yeah, no, that's Rachel. She's British, but she's a friend of my friend, and yeah, there she is. She's waving. Yeah, I look. There's never going to be an ethno-state. There's a white ethno-state. That's just like ridiculous. There's a lot of countries that have them, and it's a crazy argument. But I get it. People are arguing about it, but it's complicated, and we'll save that for another discussion because we're talking about Berkeley and the police state. Norway, communism, Nazism, fascism are all brain children of the totalitarian left. The difference in the state's reach is marginal between Nazism and communism. See Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Yeah, I think, it's a complicated issue when you talk about National Socialism. A lot of people on the right say it's socialism, but a lot of people on the left say that was just the name they used to attract the left away from communism. That's complicated. I don't think it matters to call it right or left. You call it authoritarianism, totalitarianism, and that's what it is. And totalitarianism can be left or right or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're a Nazi, you're a communist, you're a totalitarian, fuck off. Brian K., are Antifa doing violence and rationalizing it by crafting an other in their political opponents? finding justification while ignoring redefining their own escalation, it is their means to an end. There are a lot of people who are aligned with Antifa that believe there's injustices and oppression that need to be solved. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. But there are at least some people who are very smart and know that political violence will lead to revolution. I know someone who is aligned with Antifa, who's basically disavowed me at this point, and they're relatively high profile. And the reason they disavowed me wasn't because we're not friends. No, of course, that's not an issue. We've actually had great philosophical conversations. But this person, who is also a journalist, told me that they want to watch the world burn. And the only way to do it is just shake things up and cause problems because nothing matters in the end. And the discussion we had was basically me saying, there is no meaning of life. Life has the meaning you give it. And this person agreed and said, right, there is no point. There's no reason to do anything. So I'm going to do what's fun and mess things up. I swore, but I'm not going to swear because I'm trying not to swear as much because, it can cause issues for live streams and YouTube, cracking down on people. So let's keep the swearing to a minimum. Omar Dunn, thank you for the super chat. In 1918, the left had broad support in Weimar Germany. Their propensity for violence meant that by the mid-1920s, support for the Nazis had surpassed that for the left and allowed the fascists to win. Yes. Billy says, who's the girl? I just explained this. That's Rachel. She's here from London. She's a friend of my friend. Well, now she's my friend. Nefarious NYC, fear is the greatest motivator to abdicate up your rights. Normal liberals like the ones at Berkeley may not want fascism, but they want a war. They seem almost gleeful when they attack people. And that's not normal liberals. No. I want to find this video. I don't know how I can do it, but I was just watching one. Like, you saw that guy. He dives on top of the dude being beaten trying to stop people. People then try pulling him off. They're beating this guy in the ground. Other people are trying to stop the violence. The people who dress in all black, yeah, they want war. They want violence. They want to shake the core of this country so that they can step in and enact Marxism, like actual Marxism. The average liberal just wants... They're scared that fascism is coming in. And this is all part of the propaganda that's being spread. Making people scared into believing this and then joining these protests. And just look, if that guy I showed you, right? Let me pull this up. I want to show you this guy's face again. Well, I'm not trying to get him identified or anything, but I want to show you just what this looks like. This guy right here. This guy said to this guy, what's your outlet? He doesn't know this guy, yet he will still yell at this guy, Nazi, go home. If you're somebody who's going to just jump into a crowd and start screaming Nazi, go home at a random person you've never met before, never heard of, never seen, you're probably not someone who's doing a lot of thinking on your own. And there are a lot of people down there in Berkeley who are just like that. They're standing there with signs saying Trump is bad because their friends told them to. They told them Trump was bad. And I think there's a lot of legitimate grievances that you can always have with a president. You know, Donald Trump did a raid in Yemen that killed a little girl. I believe it was an American citizen. At the very least, it was the sister of an American citizen. Drone strikes are bad. Engaging with Syria was bad. Increasing troops levels in Afghanistan is bad. And there's a lot of general grievances we've had with our presidents of the past, be it Obama, Bush, Clinton. I mean, criticize the president. There's always room to do that. But a lot of these people are simply doing it because they're told to. Because CNN runs a story over and over again. Because CNN says Donald Trump got 2 scoops of ice cream. It makes everyone angry. So, got a super chat here from the Geth. Nazi is basically the new Jew. How ironic. It interestingly is, to an extent, right? I never want to create like an equivalence or do something like that. But I don't know if you saw that Dan Harmon video. Let me pull this up. Dan Harmon, I am not a Nazi. Okay? When I saw this rant from Dan Harmon, if you don't know who he is, he's a comedian, and he's one of the creators of Rick and Morty. He does this rant that is absolutely terrifying, and let me see if I can just pull up to a certain point. It's long, it's 5 minutes long, I'm going to play the whole thing. Let me hit the super chat real quick from Ski the Desert. Antifa is being funded. George S. is betting on both sides and funding Black Lives Matter and Antifa. When the funding gets cut off, both will fade away. No, I don't think so. Definitely don't think so. I think people overestimate George Soros' true power in this. Because I know people who have been to events with him, and they call him like a bumbling old man who donates to nonprofits, and then they use the money as they see fit. Yamaha, FTW Gaming, please read Fascist Manifesto. Fascism does not equal racism. Right. Not equate the two. Let's see what we got here.
This civil war, and I promise you that's what's brewing, is going to... This civil war, and I... Do you go back to being not loved or walk across the street? That is what this civil war, and I promise you that's what's brewing, is going to be all about. And it's fucking over. The discourse is over. We have sat, we have talked, we have argued, we have pondered. The discourse is over. These people that tweet you when you retweet somebody, when you just say a simple fact that should not cause you to get a knot in your stomach, like, I'm not a Nazi. The people that tweet you and say, nor am I, but just out of curiosity. Just tell them to go fuck themselves. The discourse is over. The war has begun. You're not talking to Nazis anymore. You're not talking to people that want to entertain the notion of being a Nazi anymore. You don't want to talk to people that want to circumscribe the concept of Nazism within a fucking Socratic dialectic about goddamn whether Nazi. They're fucking Nazis. It's the bedrock of humanity. It is so low that the worst people in the world find it, and that's where they rally. And it's so low, we have gotten so bad that a third of our country has gotten there. 29% of the people are fucking Nazis. Let's face it, that's a minority. We can beat them. We have to say, I'm not a Nazi, though. 2/3 of the country just don't want to be political. It's not politics to say you're not a Nazi. It's like taking a shit. You just do it, or you explode. You die if you don't shit, and you die if you don't say you're not a Nazi. Fascism is a fucking cancer. It will eat your country unless your country kills it. Here's what happens when you get cancer. Nothing good. Nothing. There is no way out of it. I'm your country's doctor. You've got cancer. You have fascism. You are going to suffer. You are going to fight. You are going to feel pain. You are not getting out of this. We have fascism. It is happening. We're fucking dead, maybe. Or maybe they're dead. That's about it.
Did you hear that? Do you guys hear what I just heard? We're dead, or maybe they're dead. You have fascism. Don't talk. No dialogue. They're cancer. He just said we're dead, or maybe they are dead. I watched this and I was like, wow. Here's a guy. He's got like 500-something thousand followers. He's not a politician or anything, but he's influential. Screaming, either we die or they die. That's crazy. Uh-oh, my stream health is getting caught up. Let me hit these super chats. Nefarious NYC, the people who attacked Lift the Veil 2 seemed like normal liberals to me. They clearly weren't alt-left, but they sure enjoy the violence. Yeah, they just hop on board. We got £5, but message was retracted. Thank you for the super chat. Maximus, how would you recommend getting started with Bitcoin and Litecoin, Tim? It's so hard. Cryptocurrencies have a big challenge in that the barrier to entry is difficult for the average person. But go to somewhere like Coinbase.com or Gemini.com. I know there's a lot of controversy on these sites, but they make it a bit easier to get into the main cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. They allow you to use credit. You can use credit cards on Coinbase. You can use bank account on both, and it makes it a bit easier to have holding. And then just start reading up and do what you can. Moniker, super chat. Can journalists still retain their anonymity? Yeah, absolutely. One of the things about being a journalist, though, is that you don't necessarily want to be anonymous. You want to be trusted. So there is a bit of a double-edged sword in if you don't reveal your identity, will people trust you? And so there are a few sites. There's like Zero Hedge, which does a lot of writing and commentary, and people wonder who's behind that. But a lot of people don't think they're trustworthy. It is what it is. There's pros and there's cons to anonymity. Nefarious NYC, Dan Harmon seems to think the default is Nazi, and you have to proclaim you're not one in order to distinguish yourself. He's off his rocker, and he's quoting Shia LaBeouf, just do it. This is what's scary. He says, you die if you don't take a dump. I'm trying not to swear. I know he was swearing. And you die if you don't say you're not a Nazi. as we saw in this video that I posted from the San Francisco guy, him saying over and over again, I'm not a Nazi, did nothing. It didn't matter. He said he wasn't a Nazi. Did they care? Hell no. In Hamburg, Germany, when my friends were getting beat up and screaming, I'm not a Nazi, did that matter? Hell no. And I shouldn't even say my friends. Well, yeah, my friends, but one of the guys I didn't even know. And they're beating him. He's a German local reporter saying, I'm not a Nazi. Why are you beating me? There's videos from Berkeley where there's a Latino guy saying, why are you beating us up? Why? Why is this happening? Those people are going to turn around and they're going to beg for security. Beg. All right, let's see the super chats. Zwelius087. It sucks to see someone who makes such great work curl over and regress so far. Yeah, I think you're talking about Dan Harmon. But look, man, just like in Germany, when these politics are taking over, I guarantee you the celebrities will toe the line. We see so many celebrities just trying to take their stance, virtue signal, because they just want to be on the right side of the audience, and no one knows where to be because we're split, and we're split bad. Jesse J, since the beginning, the last election cycle, who would you say have been the cause of the most bloodshed, the extremes of the left or the right? I don't think it matters what your politics are. When we look at statistics, often we see that over the past couple decades, the far right-wing extremists, nationalists, white supremacists have committed significantly more acts of terror. But I think it's not fair when people say that it's the far right committing acts of terror, because the idea of the right includes, you could lump a Nazi into the far right. You could also lump an anarcho-capitalist into the far right. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, the Christopher Cantwell guy is a weird combination. Anarchists don't believe in violence. They have the non-aggression principle. So, in terms of street violence, the left, I've just watched old people be knocked down and beaten. In terms of more high-profile attacks over the past couple decades, we've seen more far-right aligned individuals, more crazies. But in terms of this past election cycle, the left, hands down. I have not been to an event where right-wing people show up to someone else's event and start a fight. I've been at Trump rallies where the left shows up and starts fights. I've been to right-wing free speech rallies where the left shows up and starts fights. I have not been to an event put on by the left where the right has shown up and started beating people. Yama for the win. Not fascist, just tired of political mislabels. Yes. Stephen Huska. I've deleted my Facebook. I've always enjoyed controversial discussions there and have had friends defriend me as not being racist even as we disagree. Now are suspicious of my values for opposing political violence. That's the thing. The media, these big left-wing media companies, they said, people, violence is okay. Let me see if I can pull up this meme. Yep, got it right here. Let me show you this. I feel like this exemplifies a lot. So, punching Nazis is cool from Mother Jones. Then when we know this is a guy's wearing a "Don't Try on Me" shirt. We got a Trump hat. Oh no, Nazi violence is on the rise thanks to Trump's America. These people have said violence is okay. All right? Violence is okay, and then what happens? Way more people go out and get violent because the media told them to do it. The media said, go punch Nazis. Well, the average person doesn't know Nazis, don't know who any of the Nazis are. And then Antifa, anti-fascist, communist, whatever you want to call it, are using this to gain political ground and beat random people. And it works. You have a panel. I watched this panel where Trump supporters were being asked about Charlottesville. And they said Antifa is bad too. They showed up with bats and clubs and were beating people. And the CNN host was like, you think that's worse than Nazis? It's like, whoa, hold on. What are you talking about? Were there neo-Nazis in Charlottesville? Yeah. Were there white nationalists? Yeah. Were there some Trump supporters? Yeah. That doesn't have anything to do with the fact that although we detest neo-Nazis, we detest Nazis as a culture, as a society, we don't like these ideas, we also don't like communists either. And these are the people who are showing up and they're just beating each other. How is any of that good? How is one side better than the other? Actually, no, take that back. I think if you were to break things down to quantify it, you could actually say to a certain degree, the neo-Nazis are significantly worse, regardless of who's starting the violence. At the end of the day, though, who is contributing to the fight? Who is making the fight happen? I'll tell you what, if actual Nazis marched down my street right now, and they were armed and ransacking buildings, I'd be one of the first out there to stop them. Actual Nazis trying to take over and kill people. Hell yeah. Just like we see that photo of those soldiers charging into the front line, storming Normandy, D-Day, to take out the Nazis. I will not let any fascist, totalitarian, authoritarian ideology take over. Hell no. But when these people go out claiming that they're anti-racist, claiming that they're anti-fascist, and they beat random people and they beat minorities, nah, I'm sorry, that's not true. They're flying a banner to trick people and gain support, and it works, unfortunately. Chris Jones, Super Chat, support honest journalism. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So I don't know if you may have noticed, but my quality here isn't as good because I'm actually using my phone to do this live stream. Haven't gotten internet set up at my house yet, which has been one of the biggest challenges, and why everything's sort of been like, I'm stuck here. I got the cable guys came today. They couldn't get in the building because it's Sunday. We had to go downstairs. It's complicated. But I still have my phones with unlimited data. So Tyler Massey, Super Chat, a right-wing anti-racism protest coupled with a left-wing free speech rally should happen. The only way this has a good outcome is if there is a strong, organized center. Press 1 if you agree. I agree, to an extent. I have talked to some right-wing people and said, dude, hold a right-wing anti-racism rally. And they told me they refused to do it. They said, hell no. Gray Chaos. 2017, where gender is a spectrum and politics are binary. Yeah, I'm saying. Brian K. Orwell wrote in 1946, the word fascism now has now no meaning except in so far as it signifies something not desirable. Now the word is Nazi. No, I mean, it's still kind of fascism. It's amazing how these authors were able to, capture so well. But you know what? They all missed something. Orwell got some stuff right, 1984 got some stuff right. Animal Farm, fascinating. But what about Fahrenheit 451, right? I tweeted this. It's not just one or the other. It's a little bit of both. A little bit of Brave New World, too. Fahrenheit 451, people are destroying literature and culture because it's offensive. 1984, Big Brother's watching. Google shutting down people's accounts, seizing their domains, things like that. Locking videos. Welcome to Big Brother. But it's a Big Brother combination with, destroying cultural works out of fear of offense. Tyler Massey, it has to be a dual event. I don't think it necessarily has to be a dual event because they've tried doing that. The right has tried to have events where they've said, like, anybody can come. I think that's what Boston was. They actually put out a press statement saying it's progressives, liberals, libertarians, and conservatives who are coming to support free speech. Didn't matter because the media is just going to call it a white supremacist rally no matter what you do. So there's got to be a more heavily left, in my opinion, free speech rally with right-wing personalities who speak and call it the violence. So that way, let's say you get the ACLU and the EFF involved. I really don't think the average person is going to say that the ACLU is a white supremacist rally. Maybe, but it's a bit of a stretch. All right, so we're just over an hour now, and I've got it's a Game of Thrones finale. So as much as I love talking about politics and the end of the world and what we should pay attention to, I think it's about time that for those of us who have HBO, or for those of you who just pirate it, which I do not recommend doing, but I understand that people do it. I can't advocate crimes, just so you know. You shouldn't break the law, seriously. But we're going to watch Game of Thrones, and we're going to sit back and forget all about this nonsense, and then I'm actually setting this up so that I can do a stream maybe every day, so you guys can come hang out and we can have these conversations. So I don't know if I can. Yeah, let me show you guys. Let me see what this looks like. I'm going to ruin what I got going on, but so you can see I got the umbrella lights, got my camera set up, that laptop right there, because that's kind of like a studio monitor. I got another camera right here, this one, second webcam, so that when people come over here and sit down, we can actually have real discussions and talk about issues. And what I need to do is I need to get somebody who can help do the interchange stuff, like flickering back and forth between different graphics and things like that. And then I'm actually going to be setting up a podcast. So we're hopefully once a week going to do like an hour-long discussion with me and some other people as we talk about politics and violence. And it's going to be a rather centrist podcast. And hopefully there's enough centrists, moderates. I don't care if you're liberal or conservative. If you oppose violence, we're here for you. And that's what we want to talk about and say, what is that? You know what? We don't like violence. We don't always agree. But I got to say, it's really fascinating that the extreme factions on the right and the left have actually got conservatives and liberals to ally with each other. Seeing that photo of, I think Sargon of Akkad tweeted out a picture of him and Lauren Southern together. And I'm like, wow. Sargon's like, he's like anti-feminist and everything, but he's a very liberal, left-leaning guy. He's center-left libertarian, very similar to me. And then Lauren Southern is center-right libertarian, depending on who you ask. She says center-right libertarian. I'm like, the left and the right in the center are coming together to support each other because the extreme ends are too nuts. Too nuts. The first time I see, he said duel, not duel. He's correct. Game of Thrones is at 9 p.m. Tim, you still got time. I do. I still have time. I'll keep the stream going just for a little bit longer. But it's at 9 p.m. and it's 7 right now. But I've got some people are going to come over. We're going to make like chicken wings, and maybe some like cheese stuff. Dude, oh my God. We got these gluten-free wraps. I'm normally not a fan of the fancy health food fad stuff. And usually the gluten-free stuff is like, it crumbles and it's bad. Not this. It's from they're like tortillas, but it's gluten-free. And it's kind of like a rice cake almost. It's pretty damn good. Revius, Super Chat. Did they realize that those books were warnings and not instruction manuals? You know what? I hear that joke a lot, and I gotta say it never gets old. Seriously. Let me explain something. I talked about this before about the police, and the obvious response isn't always the correct one. It's like a game of chess. You need to think about first address your problem. What is my problem? Okay, I've got a problem. It's stuffy and hot in my house. Okay, what's the solution? Open a window. Well, here's an obvious one. If you break the window will be open, right? No, that's not a good solution to the problem. You need to take the time, lift up the window, set it however you got to prop it up with a book or something, and you got to plan for what comes next. Okay, is there a screen? Will bugs get in? So think about Antifa and the violence they're engaging in. Let's say we all come together and we say, you know what, we need more police. More police will help solve this problem. Okay, if more police come down, they will be able to control Antifa. What will Antifa's response be? They'll start going to colleges, they'll start setting up events at cafes, complaining about the police crackdown on the First Amendment and their right to free assembly. If you look at what happened at J20, the January 20th inauguration, hundreds of people are running on the streets, smashing and breaking everything. And when the police arrested many of them, and albeit the arrest is very controversial for a lot of reasons, but the message from the left is that these were peaceful protesters. Like, no, there were a lot of people smashing stuff, and the reason the police arrested all of them was because they didn't know who to arrest. They had to stop the violence. There's a lot of complaints there from various civil rights groups saying it's unconstitutional to mass arrest a group of people for the actions of individuals, but the police did it for an obvious reason. They couldn't identify anybody. So the logic is there. Whether or not it's right or wrong is not for me to decide. But the left then goes on their platforms and say free speech and free protest is being attacked by Trump's, fascist regime or whatever. Ode Rasir Num Ira. Big super chat. Thank you. Seriously appreciate it. Thanks for your work, Tim. This is so you can buy more chicken wings. No barbecue sauce, please. And also so you can keep doing good journalism. I seriously appreciate all of the support in the super chats. Don't worry, I've got garlic Parmesan sauce and garlic aioli Dijon. Ooh, we're going to have some good wings. I'm saying, and buffalo sauce. So, you know what else I'm going to do? Is this has, okay, let me end this here by saying thank you guys for hanging out. You can go to timcast.com/donate to give Bitcoin or subscribe monthly. I still do have my Patreon set up because a lot of people still use Patreon for, some people don't like it, some people do. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for new videos every day at 4 p.m. And I'm going to be ramping up the live streams to a crazy degree. And I'm going to try and bring in more friends. And slowly this is going to evolve into more of something like Dave Rubin does. Dave Rubin is awesome. I love that guy. His shows, I'm inspired by what he does. I was watching some of his interviews that were just they weren't very political. It was like economics and it was like some liberals. And I'm watching this and I can't believe he gets the criticism he does simply because he interviews some conservatives sometimes. He's interviewed a lot of conservatives and, anti-establishment people. But some of the stuffs outside of the politics are fascinating. And so I'm like, I could do more of this. And that's what I'm going to try and do. So stay tuned for that. Got a couple super chats here. Jesse J, we as a nation have to decide whether or not the worst among us have the right to gather without getting their heads bashed in. It's crazy that is controversial. Absolutely. Man, the old saying, I disagree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. The Geff, do you think that Richard Spencer's a plant? He never gets hurt or arrested. Whoa, never gets hurt. He got punched in the face in D.C. He sucker punched. Someone ran up, grabbed his shoulder, jumped, and bam, right in the side of the head. Yeah, it does. And he got detained in Charlottesville, actually. He almost got arrested. And the media plays off him perfectly. Do you think the ACLU only defended Unite the Right because they knew it would go bad? No, the ACLU has defended the KKK several times. When I used to work for nonprofits, one of the companies I worked for a company that did fundraising for nonprofits, and we were contracted with the ACLU, and I was proud of that. This was like almost 12 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And so going out and telling people that civil rights are for everyone, even if you're far right, even if you're far left, and having people donate to that made me feel really, really good. And it was short-lived. I didn't work there for a long time. But I'm starting to lose faith in the ACLU because of all of the virtue signaling they're doing. And I know there's a lot of people on the left who are like, virtue signaling was made up by the right. No, but it represents an idea that the ACLU is pandering to the far left because they have a bunch of donors who are far left, and they probably lost a lot of money when they supported Unite the Right. Keep that in mind. JNBVHT, who's more orky, left or right? I have no idea. But let's talk about the ACLU and their virtue signaling, because when I came out and made a video and said, I don't think we should call Antifa a terrorist organization because it's not the logical solution, yeah, I think I lost like $50. So that was like 3 or 4 people donating monthly out of 800 who said, I am done. They are terrorists. How dare you? And they canceled their subscriptions. And that's why in my last video I said, if you're somebody who's going to block me or cancel your support because you don't like my opinion, shame on you. All right? Look, you can believe whatever you want, but the idea is we need to listen to opinions we don't like. Even if, like, that's the point, man. I watch a ton of far left progressive stuff. I watch a ton of far right stuff, moderate center. Go to my Twitter and look at who I follow. I follow a bunch of progressive and liberal journalists. I follow some right-wing journalists and personalities because I want to understand what people are saying. And half the time I'm looking at both sides going like, oh my God, I can't believe what they're saying. So just you know what, man? You don't have to support me. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to like my opinions. You don't have to agree with my opinions. Do what you want to do. That's the point. That's the real point. Listen to who you want to listen to. This is America. We have a constitution, and we've done a pretty damn good job for the past couple hundred years. And hopefully we can pull our heads out of our asses and get through this mess. Because I've been to many different countries, and it could just be a result of me growing up in the U.S. But whenever I come back, I'm like a sigh of relief because I really don't feel like I've been to countries where I'm just like, they're going to kick my door in. I've set up plans. When I was working for Vice, they were like, listen, Tim, going to this country, you might die. They will just kill you if they find out what you're doing. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. And when you come back from a place like that, you're like, oh, I am so glad. Seriously. Richie, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate your integrity and objectivity. You'll need to start your own meter saw for that crown molding. I don't know anything about home improvement. I can build you a robot. Here's what we'll do. I'm going to show you a robot that I built. I can't crown molding, I have no idea, but what I can do is build robots. And now, for those that are still watching, I'm going to show you my robot from a long time ago. Check this out. Prepare to be impressed. See this thing right here? Watch this. Now you might be wondering, what the hell is that? And this is from August 20th, 2012. You want to know what that is? That is a remote control can of green tea. I kid you not. Actually, here, let me pull it back up. Let me explain how this works. See this? This is a can of Oi Ocha green tea. Really good stuff, I might add. Great. It's out in LA at the Crash Space, Hackerspace. This right here is a heart, and that's to provide stabilization. This right here is the bottom of a can of Arizona. Let me see if I can get this to spin around. So what you'll notice is that when the heart isn't spinning, the can has more rotational force. The idea was that this would provide some kind of gyroscopic stabilization. The reason the can move across the table is because this is mounted slightly off-center, causing a specific frequency, a specific vibration, and it weighs the can forward. It weighs the can downward in this direction, so that when it starts vibrating, the can is shifting slightly forward because it wants to fall over, but it can't, resulting in a can of green tea that can glide across a table. Now, don't ask me why I built it, because that I can't tell you. I was sitting in hackerspace. I had motors, and I had a remote control kit, and that's what I did. So I don't know how much the stream is going to hold out for, because I told you I've been using my phone. Handy RUM. We were young in the 60s, and it was scary. When civilization frays like this, whoever's in power gets to clamp down. The violent on both sides are useful idiots. Use drones and stay safe, maybe. Yeah. I'm actually talking with some people who I might have go down and film some of the stuff on the ground, simply because, look, I'm still going to be on the ground at a ton of events, and I think I can better serve people by doing documentary and interviews with people, so we can learn about and understand the conflict. And the sad truth is that there are just some events that if I show up to, I won't actually cover anything. Being forced to leave Hamburg, Germany, because I was called a Nazi, is not the kind of video I want to make. I don't want to make a video where I say, everybody, look at me, I'm fleeing the country, the story is me, me, me. I want to go down and say, this is what's happening and why it's happening. I will make a video explaining what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because otherwise people would say, how come Tim isn't posting videos anymore? Why did he leave Germany? So the YouTube channel is a way to combine transparency, daily routine with news and issues. It also works for how YouTube is formatted for promoting content. So the idea is, if you see me end up in Germany, you'll know why. Because the day before you heard me say, hey, I'm going to Germany tomorrow. And the day before that, you saw me going out and buying supplies. And that's kind of the idea. I've been doing a lot of videos that in my house over the past month, simply because I had to move in the space. I had to go to Lowe's today. I had to buy nails and put this up on the wall and just get everything in general set up. And I'm having computer problems, which is a nightmare. My computer shuts off randomly for whatever reason. I have no idea. So, all right, we're at 121. So I got another super chat. Just props to you and all your good works. Hey guys, everybody who's commented, everybody in the super chat, I seriously appreciate everybody who watches. Let me just say, many of you might not know just how horrifying it is to wake up every day to people threatening your life and just insulting you and attacking you, and just, man, it's like, you gotta to do journalism, to be in the spotlight and try and shine light on this and put yourself on that front line, taking the risk to say stop the violence, to go in front of all crazy factions and extremists in foreign countries and film that, be it whatever you're doing, even activists. It's really scary to be standing in the front with everyone staring at you and getting attacked for it nonstop. When I was at Kimberwood store I was at, but I saw something making fun of Jennifer Aniston, and I was like, man, dude, the people who like want to be famous actors and everything, they have no idea what they're bargaining for. Just to have people like following you around nonstop, insulting you, taking pictures of you, trying to get a reaction out of you, is not fun. When you take away the rich celebrity lifestyle and put in no celebrity, but you're well known for covering politics and being to some degree in the fight, is when it gets really scary, because you get all the bad and the worse. You get the real death threats and the people coming out to try and mess with you. So when I do these live streams, when I make these videos, and I see you guys commenting and sending your support, I can't tell you how much it means to me to see that people are willing to send some money my way via Super Chat, to subscribe monthly. Because I got to tell you what, man, having high-profile people tell me, like, just waking up every day to the barrage of insults, threats, and just there's like communities of people who just rip on me all day. And I laugh at it. I'm like, it is what it is, right? I get it. And then I see the awesome people like you guys who watch on the live stream, who send in kind words and give super chat, and I'm like, and there it is, right? There's a balance to everything. And it's all of you who are watching, help me keep going. So with that, we're at an hour 23. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, new videos every day at 4 p.m. Stay tuned, because the podcast will be kicking up probably just after the beginning of September. So that's only in a few days. I got a lot of work to do to figure out how I'm going to do this, and the biggest challenge is getting someone who wants to do it with me. Because I've got a bunch of, look, I don't hang out with conservatives, believe it or not. I hang out with progressives and liberals, and they're scared that if they get involved, they'll be physically attacked or insulted or shunned or ostracized. But what I really want is, I want that voice from someone on the left to talk about why they feel how they feel, and to sort of present a non-violent approach to being opposed to Trump or to being anti-fascist, someone who has like a legitimate, well-thought-out opinion with a dialogue, and that's the challenge I've had as of late. So stay tuned. Another thing is, I've got all of my music equipment set up. All right, so I've been playing music since I was a little kid: drums, guitar, bass, singing. I've got a synthesizer, And I've actually recorded some music for fun, which I have up on my Minds channel. It's minds.com/timcast. But I'm going to create a separate channel for fun tidbits and random whatever that I'll promote sometimes. So it might be music, it might be skateboarding, just little things that I might end up having that I could publish just so you guys can watch if you want to watch it. And maybe more off-the-cuff discussions about things not so newsy, but look, news is my passion. Politics, foreign policy, economy, it's what I care about. I care about the things that are going to change the world and are going to shape our lives. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to go get ready for Game of Thrones and Wings and just getting away from all of this, people beating each other in the streets for at least 1 hour, all right? So I appreciate all of you tuning in. I appreciate all the support. Thank you all so much for watching. The best thing you can do to support my work is just word of mouth. If you like a video, share it. Have a conversation. Don't just post a link to a video, but actually, what do you think about that video? I'm not always right. I have a lot of opinions. Some people like, some people don't. But take the link, post it somewhere, and start a conversation with your friends and family. And hopefully, if we can create a message of, hey, we disagree, but let's not punch each other. We might pull out of this nosedive and end up back in a nice space where we actually can have progress, solve our problems without hitting someone else. All right? All right. I will see you guys all tomorrow at 4 p.m.